Welcome everyone to the inaugural episode of the Christian Ainsley Show. I am your host, director, editor, producer, Christian Ainsley. This first inaugural episode was supposed to come out last week on the 4th of July, and I ran into audio issues when I videoed it, so now I am using the in-camera audio, and I'm releasing it the next week alongside episode 2. So you guys get 2 episodes in 1 week, which is probably actually a good thing for the first episode. So here we go. The way this pilot episode was supposed to go is I would discuss kind of the general layout of how the show would run. The show for the first year at least will be divided into 3 segments. The first, where I talk about current events, what's happening, how we as Christians should likely respond to it. And the second segment, I suppose, will be dedicated to just kind of more having fun, going over fun things, because current events are often very heavy and not fun to talk about. So here we go with more fun things. And usually that'll be entertainment stuff. I'll provide a review, maybe react to it, I don't know, something like that. The third segment, I'll be teaching you guys hopefully something new, because if you are not constantly learning, you become a stupid person. So yeah, I had to learn that the hard way. I'm only recently coming out of my stupidity phase, so here we go. This is the Christian Ainsley Show. Alright, so for the first segment, normally I talk about current events, and, well, when I filmed this last week, the flooding in Texas hadn't happened yet, so I'm actually going to cover that in the next episode, episode 2, which will also be dropping this week. So yeah, you guys can look for that in the next episode. For this episode, I'm just going to kind of talk about the world as a whole, and how I feel the church is not the way it should be right now. That is probably something that just about all Christians notice, but I have noticed that specifically among the more conservative and the more liberal denominations, there's a more divide between what people think the church should be like. So when I say conservative and liberal denominations, I do not mean politically conservative or liberal, though it is pretty common for the two to get, overlap. The Venn diagram there for conservative politically and conservative theologically is very, very, there's a lot of overlap there. But the thing about the biggest division I see in the church today is the discussion of hell. Is hell real? Yeah, hell's real. Let's go to the Bible. As we know in the Bible, it says, quoting Jesus here, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." Well, if you don't go through Jesus to get to the Father, where do you go? Death. The truth is, hell does exist. For real. In the book of Revelation, it specifically says that the devil and all who follow him will be cast into the lake of fire. Well, what would the lake of fire be aside from hell? And after 1,000 years, he would be released again. And that's when the final judgment will be, right? Now, there are a lot of different theological views on what this means, obviously, but that's my understanding of it right now. Revelation 20. In it, Satan is bound for 1,000 years, and then Christ will let him go at the end of that 1,000 years, and that's when the final judgment will take place. Now, where would he go if not hell? Hell must be real. It just must be. I think that answers that question. Yeah. And if it doesn't answer it for you, tell me in the comment section, and I will, next week, go over more. Now for something on a bit more lighthearted topic. Something fun, we should say. Something that's not hell. This video was supposed to be created on 4th of July, so what better way to celebrate a late 4th of July than to talk about something Americana. Today I have prepared to go over this. This is my recording of Dvořák's 9th Symphony, though in this one it says Symphony number 5 right there, because fun fact about Dvořák, he didn't publish most of his symphonies during his life. Well, he published 5 out of his 9 symphonies during his life. The other 4 he did not publish, so a lot of them have the wrong numbers in older recordings until the newer ones were discovered. But this symphony is called the New World Symphony, and that is because he was from the Old World, from Europe, and he came to America, and he was honestly, truly, what am I saying here? He loved the culture of America, and so he wrote this symphony as a sort of monument to America. Composers are known to do this. I can't remember if it's Mozart or Haydn, but one of them wrote a symphony that they wrote after Paris. I think that was Mozart. Mendelssohn wrote his famous Scottish and Italian symphonies. Yeah, this is just something composers did a lot of the time, is they'd go somewhere and they would just fall in love with the area, and they'd write a composition for that area. Now, Dvořák, the way he described it is he wrote this in reference to the natives of America, meaning the Native Americans. And people say that this is probably reflected in its heavy use of the pentatonic scale, meaning 5 notes instead of the 7 notes that we use today. So, or in Western music, I should say, not that we use today, because you can still make a pentatonic scale as proven in the symphony. But the incredible thing about this symphony is how not only does it having a sort of Native American feel to it makes it feel Native American, but it also feels distinctly modern day American, because how was America formed here? It was a sort of melting pot of different cultures, right? Between Native Americans, Western cultures, and some Eastern culture. Well, this symphony is a sort of melting pot between Western music and Native American music, and that creates a distinctly American sound. Now, I love this symphony. It's personally easily in my top 10 symphonies, and part of that is because all four movements in this symphony are beautiful. All four are amazing. The fourth movement, the finale, is very, very reminiscent of a piece that you all probably know, whether you are into classical music or not, being the inspiration for Jaws. People also point to Stravinsky's Rite of Spring as inspiration for Jaws, and that is also true. Like, John Williams took inspiration from a lot of classical music, Tchaikovsky, Beethoven, and all Holst with the planets. But this, not 4th of July, but just July season. How about, I think it's a great time to go over the Great American Symphony written by a non-American. Now for the third segment of today's episode, I would like to talk about the Boy Scouts of America. Can you tell this was supposed to come out on 4th of July? Now, you may have noticed I have my Eagle Scout certificate right there next to me. That's going to hopefully be there continually throughout the show. And the Boy Scouts are an organization that is often forgotten about in today's society. People do not realize that Boy Scouts are really still around. It's kind of just forgotten. But no, Boy Scouts is still, I'm not going to say going strong, but it's still going. And it's something that you, no matter your age, could very well join and actually benefit from. If you join Boy Scouts as a kid, you learn how to do all kinds of great things. Like, you can learn how to build a tower in your pioneering merit badge. You can learn how to fire a gun safely in rifle shooting, shotgun shooting. You can learn the same thing in archery. That you can learn how to sail. You can learn how to, like, give first aid. You can learn all these skills that could very well come in handy one day that you just don't really learn in school. Now, if you're an adult, you can actually just learn the same things. You can still get the knowledge because, you know, if you're teaching people, you can learn it yourself first and then teach it to other kids. It's a good reason to get off your butt and do something. Can't tell you the number of things I've learned just to be a scout leader. I've refamiliarized myself with a lot of our country's government just to help teach the Citizenship in the Nation merit badge, which I learned myself, but you know, sometimes information leaks out of your head a little bit. So I got to relearn it to help teach other kids. Reread the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, Bill of Rights, you know, all of that. And I've only been a scout leader for like a year, so. And I can't even begin to mention the things that were not even really scouting related that I learned just because I read my Boy Scout book. The Boy Scout handbook, second probably only to the Bible, is just a great manual for life. Even if you don't want to join Boy Scouts, it's not a bad book to own. I remember I didn't know how to tie a tie, and my dad wasn't there to teach me at the moment, so guess where I learned how to do it? The Boy Scout handbook. Right here. learned how to tie a tie just from the Boy Scout handbook. Now, of course, you can learn the same thing on the internet today, but the internet is not, it doesn't have the same benefit of an encyclopedia, where it just has everything just there, you know? It's not something you can just flip through and learn from. You can't just, open it and start reading and learn how to do things like you can in a good old-fashioned encyclopedia. The internet is very good for quickly learning a small bit of information, like, okay, well, what's the difference between a 3-movement symphony and a concerto for orchestra? First thing that came to my head. The internet's a good thing for that. I can't learn that from the Boy Scout book. But if you have some free time and you just want to gain a little bit of knowledge, opening a Boy Scout book and just reading. Great way to learn. Well, that'll do it for the show today. Today was a very short episode because I am not overly prepared for it, despite the fact that I filmed it 3 times. The next episode is already available on the YouTube channel. Please feel free to watch it, and I'll see you all next week.